welcome back to She's at It Again. My name is Tanya, and I am admittedly normally the last one to find out about anything that's viral. So apparently there's this viral recipe going around, and I don't know how I stumbled across a video with it on it the other day, but we're going to give it a try. I'm going to give you my honest opinion, and I'm going to give you some feedback on what it takes to get it done. It almost sounds too simple to be good, but considering the ingredients, I can't see where it wouldn't be good because I like almost everything in this. So this is that sweet potato, avocado, seasoned taco meat, and cottage cheese bowl. Now when I said that to my husband, he's like, bowl? Yes, a bowl, like everything in a bowl. Gotcha, because he's thinking, I'm not sure what he was thinking, maybe bowling. So my one drawback is I don't have any hot honey, and I don't want to buy any hot honey. It's like, I don't know, it's like $10 a bottle. That's too much if I don't like it. But I also don't want to heat up my raw honey because then that just destroys the beneficial part of it. I like food that's good. I love nothing more than enjoying what I'm eating. Well, almost like nothing more. I do love some things more. But that's very satisfying to me for other people at my dinner table to enjoy what they're eating. But I want it to be something beneficial. So I'm trying to figure out how to make the hot honey without, all the information I get is you have to heat it up and add some chili flakes to it. But I'm thinking maybe cayenne and raw honey just combined might do the trick. So we will see. And I'll show you what spices to use, what spices I use for my taco meat mixture because I don't use a seasoning packet. So let's go in the kitchen. First of all, it's just morning. It's not even noon yet. I'm in there waiting for some bread to rise so I can bake it off. But I have my sweet potato, so I need to peel and cube it, put it in a pan, and I'll bake it while the bread's baking, so that'll have that done. And I'll just have to warm that up this evening when I get ready to make the rest of it. So doing things ahead of time when you can is the key to actually enjoying the meal. Sometimes I'm not too tired to eat it if I'll do several things ahead of time, like peeling and cubing the sweet potato. So let's go in the kitchen and we'll just get the sweet potato done for now. Back in the kitchen. This isn't anything earth-shattering, but look at the size of this sweet potato. I didn't really mean to get one that big, but the other small one was kind of long and skinny, and it had too many divots in it. I just want it to be something smooth. So just potato peeler or a knife, and I have washed this sweet potato already. And this is, I want to say this is considered a red sweet potato. Now I asked the gal at Good Measure, which is where I buy this. This is an organic sweet potato. I asked her, I said, what is a red sweet potato on the sweet side or on the savory side? Because I bought Japanese sweet potatoes there thinking they were going to be really sweet, but they weren't very sweet, so it was kind of weird. And she said, I'm not sure about the information on that. She said, but a lot of times it just depends on, you know, how old they are or the process they've been through. But I was too scared to buy another Japanese one because that was almost like just like a russet potato when I bought it. Okay, we have this all pretty much peeled. I picked out some of the little spots on it. I want to cut these into cubes about the size of a regular marshmallow. And that might sound like a weird size to you, but I have thought and thought and thought about this. And every time I cut these up, I'm like, I hate to give a measurement because, you know, an inch to somebody may not necessarily be a genuine inch to somebody else. So I usually say the size of a miniature marshmallow if you're cutting things tiny, or the size of a regular marshmallow. People generally know what size a marshmallow is, not those big giant ones. Some of these might be a little bit smaller, but generally speaking, about like that. That's about the size of the cubes we want. Now I have a zip top bag with my olive oil inside it in that big cup. So I'm just going to put these in there as I cut up the pieces. So if I cut them in beefy slices like this, kind of gives me a better idea of how big the pieces are going to be. Zoe, you're not going to get any of these. May as well quit barking. She knows what I have up here. She knows. And I used to give them sweet potatoes, and my vet said, actually they've done a study that said sweet potatoes and peas might lead to congenital heart failure in dogs. So we don't do sweet potatoes anymore. Now, if you want your sweet potatoes to cook a little faster, cut them in smaller pieces. Like, say, you know, ones like that. Those will cook a little bit faster. Now, all I'm going to put on these is Himalayan pink salt when I put them on the baking sheet, but I'll try to video that part. But for right now, I'm just going to close this bag up. Make sure it's sealed. Toss it around. You can see the olive oil in the bottom. I keep this bag in my fridge and it has olive oil in it, so I just use it over and over and over until it, you know, gives up and gets a hole in it or something. But I use it pretty often. So I'm going to put these in the fridge, so this evening, when I get ready to start making dinner, they'll be done, because I'm going to bake these off when I bake the bread in just a minute. I started to say I'll bake them when I bake the other stuff tonight, but no, I'm going to bake them. I've got 2 loaves of bread out in the sunroom rising, and I'll be baking those for about 30 minutes, so I'll just bake these at the same time. That way I won't have anything to bake tonight. Okay, I'll show you when we put them on the pan after a while. Okay, so before we do our sweet potatoes, I gotta be honest with you, I have no clue what I'm doing. I've not tasted hot honey. I don't know how hot honey is. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm just gonna add some ingredients together, because I've watched a few videos about people making their hot honey to drizzle on top of this viral taco bowl, and they all cook the honey, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just gonna do this. It might mess it up, but you know what? I'll never know, because I haven't tasted the regular kind. So that's just what I'm gonna do. First thing I'm gonna do is put a little bit of cider vinegar in here, because I want it to be just a tiny bit tangy. I'm saying it looks like maybe not even half a teaspoon. Then we have our cayenne pepper. And I like cayenne pepper, but I don't want to go nuts with it. So, I don't know. Does that look right to y'all? That's like 1/8 of a teaspoon. I don't know. I like hot, but I'm not crazy. So, let's get this kind of dissolved in there. I don't know if I can smell hot or not. I don't know why I'm smelling it. All right, this is just my raw honey that I'm putting in there. And I don't know how much that's going to take to drizzle on some taco bowls, but if it's gross, it's not going to take much. And so I don't want to feel bad about wasting my honey. I'm just going to swirl that around in there. I got a jar with this is just a baby food jar. I got a jar with the straight sides to it. So if I need to stick my finger in there or stick a spoon in there to get more out, I can. So, okay. For right now, we're saying this is our hot honey. If you don't like hot, don't add a lot of hot to it. Or just throw some honey on there. That may work too. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. So anyway, we're fixing to do the sweet potatoes in just a bit. I got my oven preheating to put my bread in, and I was piddling around adding recipes in there for videos from the other day, and I lost track of time, so the bread looks horrible. So anyway, we'll be right back. Our oven is preheating right now, and our sweet potatoes have been in the refrigerator, and they kind of soak up that olive oil just a bit, which I'm glad of. And I put quite a bit of olive oil in there. I love this pan because, number one, it's stainless steel, and I'm a stainless steel freak. I love it, love it, love it. Love it to cook with and love it to serve with. But it's already warped, and I don't feel bad about putting this in the oven and the pan warping, because it warped the first time I used it, and that's okay, as long as I know it's warped. All right, just give these plenty of space, and I'm just going to put some pink Himalayan salt on this. Not a lot, but to give it flavor. I think it brings out the sweetness of the sweet potatoes. That, you know, it kind of, what am I trying to say? It embellishes the flavor, actually. That's what happens. I like that salty, sweet flavor on things, and particularly on sweet potatoes. Eating roasted sweet potatoes is like a dessert to me. When people say, oh, and I added sugar or brown sugar or something to it, I'm like, no, 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 no. These are plenty sweet enough. These are fabulous by themselves. It's like eating a dessert. A lot of times I'll save my roasted sweet potatoes and eat them as a dessert. They're so good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put these in the oven because it doesn't necessarily have to be preheated before I put them in there. I'm trying to set these on the rounded side onto the pan, just so it won't stick to the pan as much. They're not too bad about sticking, but just to prevent it more. Okay. I'll pop those on that very bottom rack, the top rack right here. This one is what I'm going to put my bread on. Y'all, I've never made bread that looks like this in my life. If we're going on a trip, I'm taking the sandwich bread. I'm going to show up with this, and the people with this are going to go, what is that? Oh my goodness, this looks like a joke. That is funny. But I was sitting there at the counter entering in recipes for videos I did the other day, and all of a sudden it occurred to me, oh my word, I was supposed to put the bread in the oven. Oh, that's what happens when I don't set a timer. Start setting a timer. Okay, we'll be back, and I'll show you what the sweet potatoes look like. Good land. We are ready to take our sweet potatoes out of the oven. I checked them with just poking a knife blade into one of the larger ones, and it came out fine. So this is what our sweet potatoes look like in the cooked stage. And I'll show you what I did with that knife. Just stuck it down in one, and if it slides off, it's done. Just like that. So, easy way to tell that sweet potatoes are done. Make sure, slide them around in that oil. I want to keep them oil coated. I'm just going to keep these in the lower oven, and I'll heat them up right before we serve our bowls, only because the meat's hot. I don't really understand what the temperature is supposed to be like, because you're putting cold cottage cheese on the top of it, which is really unusual. But you put cold cheese on stuff too and it melts, so I don't know what this is going to turn out like. We shall see though. So anyway, we'll be back and we'll cook our meat up and we'll get our bowls put together and try it. So see you then. All right, we are back. Let's see if this helps. Yep, that helps a little bit. I'm heating up my skillet. I am reheating the sweet potatoes in a smaller pan because I don't need all those right now. That's enough for probably 4 people, and there's just 2 of us eating tonight. So no dinner guests tonight. I'm going to put a little bit of bacon fat in this skillet. And I have it turned on about, not quite medium heat, but I want it kind of hot because I want to get a little bit of browning. I want that Maillard effect to where it gives a little bit of crust to it instead of just a wet ground beef. I want it more like a, let's say, an old-fashioned hamburger from the dairy bar. And you got those little crispy edges on it. We like that part. And if we get a Maillard effect, great. And if not, it's not going to be a big deal. This is going to have some seasoning in it, some taco seasoning. And the recipe, I'm sure I'll repeat this, but the recipe is in the description. So all the spices that I put in this, which aren't a whole lot, they're going to be listed in there. This is just organic ground beef. I'm going to hold off on putting my seasonings in there until after I get the meat browned, because I don't necessarily need to brown any spices. That sizzling's a good sign that we might be getting some Maillard effect. Instead of chopping it up in little finer pieces, I'm just going to kind of section off little blobs of it, almost like I'm cooking little mini cheeseburgers or little bitty hamburger patties. I'm going to turn this Vena hood on, and it's so noisy. It drives me nuts, but I just don't like that smoke coming back in my house, because I'm thinking this grease is traveling straight through my draperies, and that is not a comfortable feeling for me. I have to just resist the urge to stir it. I'm a stirrer. I'm one of those that wants everything the same size, but I just have to leave this alone and let it get that browning on it. So I have my avocado cubed in tiny pieces. I have it in a container. I did that yesterday. I kept thinking, okay, I bought this avocado with the intention of making this dish the other day, and then things just kept coming up, and I kept thinking, okay, maybe I'll do it this day, and then that never worked out. And then my husband reminded me that we had an invitation to go somewhere before church on Wednesday night to someone's house, and then we had to be back at the church building at 5 o'clock, but we made it there by 5:15, so we were doing good. But we had something going every single night, so this did not get made until right now, but I'm glad it's being made right now. We are leaving to go out of town for a week this weekend, so I have to cook all the things I want to cook, make sure they're either put in the freezer or we eat them, or I give them to the neighbors or somebody before we leave. I don't want them in my refrigerator and have it look like some science experiment when I get back. Okay, I see a little bit of browning on the bottom of some of those. Yeah, here's a good example of what I'm talking about. See if you can see this browning on the edge of it. It doesn't just look like a piece of gray cooked meat. Ooh, here's a really good example of it. I don't know how good you can see that in the light. Let me put it in this light. There you go. I think you can see that. That's a good example of that Maillard reaction. And you don't have to do that. That's not a deal breaker. I'm pretty sure this is going to taste fine without that. Looks like our meat's getting a really good sear on it. Now I can just start chopping it up. I'm going to turn the heat down a bit and start adding my spices to it. I just traded out my minced onions, which I normally add to ground beef when I'm cooking it for tacos. Traded it out for onion powder because this really doesn't have a lot of liquid to go in it. The beef doesn't have a high fat ratio, but because I'm cooking this without a lid and I've seared it to get that Maillard reaction and get that flavor going, there's really not a lot of moisture to it. So when I cook ground beef normally in a saucepan, cook it on low heat, use a lid, it has a lot of moisture retained in it, and I use those dried minced onions, and once they rehydrate, it's done, along with the other spices that I add to it. But with this one, I'm just going to use onion powder because there is very little moisture in this skillet. I don't know if you can tell from that view, but this is nice and chunky, and it's not watery at all, and obviously not a lot of fat. Okay, I have the heat turned down. Let's see, first thing I need is a half teaspoon of salt. This is a teaspoon measure. About a half a teaspoon of that. I need a teaspoon of ground cumin. Teaspoon of chili powder. This is homemade chili powder. I think we have a video already out. We can link the video to that if you're interested in making your own chili powder, which doesn't have any flowing agent in it. Means no cornstarch or anything like that. Just organic spices. Half a teaspoon of garlic powder or granulated garlic, whatever you have. I usually put 2 teaspoons of dried minced onions in there, so I'm going to do just a little bit over a teaspoon of onion powder. I think this is actually granulated onion. It looks more granulated than it does the powder. Okay, about a half teaspoon of ground black pepper. And oregano. If this does not say Mediterranean oregano, I just learned this the other day. It's not like I've got all this knowledge, but somebody asked me on a different video, asked me a question about did I use Greek oregano or did I use Mexican oregano? And I was like, you know what? I've never really paid that much attention to it. So I don't know. But I have this when I was making some spice mix, bought this at Natural Grocers. And this is Mexican oregano because it doesn't say otherwise. If it's Greek oregano, it will say Mediterranean or Greek. And according to this viewer, the Mediterranean or the Greek oregano has a sweet flavor to it. Mexican oregano does not, which I found super interesting. I love information like that. All right, this is flying out of the skillet. It's so crumbly. All right, I've turned the heat off underneath this, but I'm going to scoop this back here. That's got some perfect searing going on. This is perfect when you're making a bowl. You don't have to just slop it out and make everything else wet. This is nice and crumbly, almost like they do it at a restaurant or something. That's just too fun. And my friends watching this are going, how do you know? Because I don't go to restaurants. I'm kind of scared. I'm just assuming this is what a restaurant would look like. Maybe I'm remembering when I went to Chipotle years ago. And theirs was kind of a crumbly mixture like this, kind of dry and crumbly, which is a good thing. Normally you would say dry and crumbly and that's a derogatory description of it, but in this case, that's not. That's a good thing. Dry and crumbly. Okay, we have our meat done. All we have to do now is wait for our sweet potatoes to heat up and to put this together in a bowl. That's why it's called a bowl. Okay, let's go over the counter and get it done. All right, here's our sweet potatoes. I just reheated those. They were done earlier today. And the first thing we want to do is put a layer of sweet potatoes in the bottom. I'm not fixing a huge bowl. But it'll be enough because I'm really not that hungry. All right, putting our seasoned meat over it. The The crumbles aren't working real well with this flat spatula thing, but that's what I cooked it with, so that's what we're going with. Push this out of the way, and we have our avocado cubes. This is the only part of this meal I'm sketched out about, honestly. Avocados don't have a flavor to me. I can't taste them, and sometimes they make me sick. So I'm just being brave, I'm telling you. It's not something I normally eat, but I used to buy them all the time. My husband would eat like sometimes two and three a day. Okay, next thing is cottage cheese. Now, cottage cheese I get excited about. It's the goods. And then we have our hot honey, which is honey. It's raw honey and cayenne and a little bit of cider vinegar. And I'm just going to drizzle this right over the top. That has some heat to it. That's nice. Okay, we're about to go out and enjoy these, and I'll let you know what I think of it. I'm going to give you an honest review, but everybody else is like, my wife was right, or this is the best thing I've ever eaten. So we'll see if it's that good. So I'll let you know in just a minute. All right, I've taken like 4 bites. It's really good. I would highly recommend this. If you have somebody that has a gluten intolerance, this would be perfect. You don't have to buy something that tastes like it's gluten but not gluten. That's so frustrating. This is just whole food, good ingredients. So this is perfect. This is perfect because you can actually get together with a group of friends, everybody bring different components of it, and that hot honey was good. I don't know what the stuff tastes like that they're cooking on these videos, but that stuff is good. Has a little bit of heat to it, but not too much. I really didn't put that much cayenne in it, but it is fabulous. Did you think it was fabulous? Yeah, he thought it was fabulous too. So he's already finished his bowl, and I'm still working on mine. So yeah, this is very much worth trying. I can see why it's a viral sensation. So anyway, I'm a latecomer when it comes to the viral videos. So anyway, thanks for joining us. Recipe is in the description as always, and we look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. Bye guys.